Hello everyone, welcome back to our channel. Today we are very glad to have our senior teacher for English, Mr. Ben Lim here, who is a very strong advocate for mentoring in our school to help us have a better understanding on what mentoring is about and why we should be having mentoring in our school itself. So thank you so much, Ben, for spending time with me today to help our audience to have a better understanding of this particular issue that we are talking about today. Yeah, I know we discussed a little bit of what we want to talk about today, but let me just throw you a little curveball. At the start of this session, I hope you don't mind.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah. So my little curveball to you is this: what happens if there are actually no mentors within our school to guide teachers who are in need of help? What do you think about this?
If there are no mentors to guide or help, then it would be a very lonely journey. I mean, I can almost imagine that you are pretty much on your own, and sometimes you just need to have a listening ear or somebody to tinker some certain ideas. And I think how I imagine it to be, basically you feel very lonely in the things that you're doing.
Yeah, correct. I think rightfully so. I mean, imagine ourselves as students. If we come to school and there's no one actually to guide us through on what we are supposed to learn and how we are supposed to learn, I would believe the learning process would be much tougher. Does it mean that we make learning easier for our students? I don't think so. But the risk of that happening when people feel lonely in their learning is that they want to give up on their learning. And I think that we should try to reduce that particular chance of happening so that the learning becomes more meaningful for our teachers in the school itself. True. And therefore mentoring is important.
I mean, if you imagine it to be, in the context of students, imagine if the teachers are not there to guide, then I guess students will be very demoralized, right? I think similarly it's the same. I mean, we're all humans, right? So even as adults, in whatever capacity we are, whether we are teachers or no matter where you are, I feel that there is a need for some form of support in that sense. People feel that they can reach out to someone, especially when maybe you hit certain crossroad or you hit certain things that you are at a, or you just need somebody's second opinion, and I think then the idea of having a mentor, along the way as somebody that you can reach out to, that would be a very good form of support. I mean, even for me as well, I would like to have colleagues that I can go to, to talk about certain things, whether is it certain lesson plans or whether is it even how to deal with students. So to me it's always important. So that's why when the first question you asked me about, if there is no mentor, I cannot really imagine how it would be in that sense.
Rightfully so. If we also go back to the idea of lifelong learning, we understand that what motivates learning in people is that there should be relationships involved. And therefore, because if there should be relationships involved during learning, that would mean that learning should be social as well. Not just for students, but also for adults. And like you said just now, when there are people to ask around, for ideas on how they could teach better or how they can manage class environment better, then I think it supercharges how well our teachers actually learn about improving their pedagogy, classroom management and assessment during their lessons. There's no need because if they were to just apply their theories and then they go back and reflect on their own, yes, they can still learn, but I think sometimes the process will be a bit slower, because they are on their own. Yeah.
I think there's also a certain level of comfort also, as in level of comfort in terms of how comfortable you are in terms of like sharing or speaking to someone else. You know, I think I mean, we always talk about teacher-student relationship, right?
Yeah.
TSR.
Yeah.
There's this idea of the need to build trust between me as a teacher and my students in that sense. I
Yeah.
think similarly, it's the same, you know, even as adults, as colleagues, as friends, right? There is a certain need to build a level of trust in order to say that, you know, I feel comfortable enough to share my problems, or to want to come to you and say that, okay, hey, I have an idea. Even it's not just problems, you know, it could be even sharing of ideas. Therefore, I think that also knowing that while mentoring is really important, I think the next thing that really comes to my mind is building of that amount of trust, or the level of trust with one another as colleagues. You know, to say that, you know, we can actually, or we are comfortable enough to share with one another.
Okay. Yeah. So I like the part where you mentioned about building trust, because if we believe that motivation to learn is about building relationships with one another, and then learning, being social, then there has to be a good level of trust between you know, the mentor and the mentee, or you know, simply between two people who are helping one another learn. Otherwise, if there's no conversations, if there's no trust, I would believe there's no conversations. When there are no conversations, how can there be you know, any form of collaboration to help, you know, one another grow in whatever we want to learn.
Correct.
So I like the point that you mentioned about building trust lah. So I think building on this idea of trust, how would you see, okay, the mentoring process to be like? How can we actually build trust between a mentor and a mentee who are learning from one another? So for example, if a mentor who is very senior, you know, starts becoming very instructional in nature of their conversations, is that okay? What do you think?
Okay, so I think when it comes to, I mean, to your question on how do we actually build trust, right? I think there are really many perspectives, or there are many sides that you will see, because we essentially, I think we're dealing with real life, you know, human beings, right? So, and everyone is at different stages of their life also. I remember last year, I think I shared with some of my colleagues, I said that, you know, sometimes mentoring, the process of mentoring is almost like a okay, it's a, I use romantic relationship, you know, it's like, you know, the whole boyfriend girlfriend thing, or husband and wife thing, that when you meet your when you meet your partner for the first time, right? You don't feel immediately comfortable in doing the things that you want. So I use the example of like, oh, you know, you can't be yourself. You always want to be in your best behavior, or simply maybe I like to pick my nose, or I like to, you know, do certain things, right? But I wouldn't want to do that at the first encounter with my partner. So it's like, then, you know, over time, when you start building that trust, and then you realize that you start to share more deeply in that sense. So having said that, I'm not saying that, you know, therefore the mentoring process is a romantic relationship, but it's just minus the romance. It's really a professional kind of relationship that you learn how to build trust. So I always believe in the first thing is to really get to know one another. That to me is very important, because I mean, I always try to put myself in the shoes of when I talk to someone who is new, right? I mean, it would be a bit uncomfortable if the first thing that someone talks to me and say that, oh, okay, we have a certain agenda, let's do this, I need to tell you this, or let's discuss about this. So I think then I feel that the connection is not there. But when you take time, and again, the mentoring process is really it takes time to develop, and while it develops over time, that trust is being built by getting to know each other first, and therefore one another, we are more willing to share more about some of our concerns, or even some of the things that we would want to let the other person know. It might not just be problems. I know I keep saying, oh, when I'm more willing to share problems, but it's not just problems. I think basically willing to share things that you have encountered, the good, the not so good, in a very open manner. And I think that to me can only start when the level of trust is slowly being built in that sense. Yeah. So then if you're saying that, okay, so how do I, if let's say there's an experienced teacher that I'm talking to, or even a beginning teacher, I think knowing that they are at different stages of their professional career in that sense, definitely we must also be able to recognize that they do come along with different sets of knowledge, different sets of needs even. Yeah. So I remember as a beginning teacher, I think to me, the first thing that is right in my mind would be, how should I go about, managing my students?
Yes.
So classroom management is something, even with some of the beginning teachers, our colleagues that I spoke to, that's the first thing that comes to my mind. How can I better manage something? So then that would be a whole different conversation. Then maybe for an experienced teacher, it would be, different in that sense. Maybe in terms of pedagogical approaches, because in our education landscape, a lot of things keeps changing. Profile of students change. What can be done or what is applicable today might not apply tomorrow. So then that's also another different conversation that we engage. Not so much as I'm telling you what to do, but more of a very collaborative kind of conversation to say that, hey, I'm not somebody. I always like to say this as a mentor, right? Or the whole mentoring process is not to establish the fact that the mentor is a know-it-all versus, let's say, somebody to be mentored is somebody who is on a deficit.
Yeah.
It's really a professional kind of development. So I always believe that then, therefore, it is this mutual respect to say that I'm not here to tell you that I know it all, but I'm here to tell you that I'm just like you. We're still learning about certain things. You have certain strengths, and that I think I need to depend. Is that this co-dependence on one another? And so I think with that established, right, then you realize that it becomes more collaborative in that sense, so that then the conversation can go about in terms of like, how can we do this together? Can we try certain things together? Then I think it would be more helpful for the both of us.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much for sharing. And I think we can rightfully agree that mentoring is very relational, and it takes time to know one another. Because learning is social. Therefore, the mentoring process itself has to be relational in order to build trust. So trust is one of the important ingredients to help our mentees open up to us. Okay, but if we want our mentees to open up to us, we also need to be open as well. Open as well to what? Maybe open as well to our vulnerabilities. Okay, and I like the part where you shared that you tell the mentee that we are in this together. I'm also learning from you. You are also learning from me, which gives the impression to the mentee that the whole process of helping our students learn better is a collaborative one. And this entire situation, right, I think provides the mentee the idea of the mentor being humble, and that mentor showing humility towards guiding him or her in his or her development, which goes back, okay, to the trust being built within the mentee itself. Yeah, and when there's this cycle going on, I think it's easier for the mentee to actually be more open and more willing to share information on what he or she is struggling, and therefore creates the situation, okay, for us as mentor as entry points, okay, to offer guidance, to offer help for the growth of our mentee itself. Yeah. So I think I totally like the way where you focus on the idea of building the relational trust first before going into the process of mentoring. Yeah, because we can have all the theories about mentoring using the ICF framework, using the magic wand, or maybe ask them certain questions to rate themselves where they are at right now. But if the relation is not there, right, then I think these strategies and tactics of mentoring, right, are performative. Yeah,
correct.
Which I think which ironically reduces the effectiveness of the guidance that we are trying to provide.
I mean, now that you say that, we need to, we want our mentees to be open, and we also need to be open to the idea of being vulnerable. So I can share with you the vulnerabilities of what I have.
Okay.
So I recall one experience or one encounter with one of the my mentees that I spoke to, right? So in the very initial stages, right, because we talk about the whole ICF, the instructional, collaborative, and facilitative stances of like how we ask questions. So back then, right, when I was all about, sometimes we cannot give answers, we cannot tell them, be so instructional. So I thought, okay, I want to be more facilitative. So when my mentee asked me a question, really, this one very vulnerable because I only learned about this at the later stage of our mentoring journey. So when my mentee asked questions like, how do I deal about this? And then I'll give a whole string of different questions back to her to say that, what do you think if, let's say, I thought that, hey, I'm being quite a professional in that sense, that, as a mentor to ask questions, to make them feel very involved, not being instructional. And then somehow, after at least half a year later, when we got to know each other better, right? And that was the really amazing thing, that my mentee looked at me and said, hey, I remember the very first time when we first met, right? And then when I asked you for help and I asked you some of the questions that I have, and then you throw me like so many questions, like I really felt very overwhelmed, I felt so overwhelmed by like all the I'm giving a question, but you're throwing me a question with another question, Yeah. So then that really, I took a step back in that sense, and I told myself, I didn't even realize this. So in a way, then I start to customize, or we start to, change or customize the way how we have our conversation. And I do appreciate the fact that, there is this open channel of like communication to say that there are certain things. Again, like I said, we're not perfect. Yeah. And I think that really helped me a lot in terms of like seeing how to better shape the mentoring journey for each and every one in that sense.
Yeah, it goes back to the point that we just talked about in showing our vulnerability to build our credibility as mentors. Yeah, really, really very important. Yeah, perhaps let's pivot to another question. Who should we actually mentor in our schools? Should it only be for our beginning teachers?
If you ask me, I think it's really meant for everyone. Yeah, I think, even including myself, if I'm thinking in as an individual in this school, I would like to have someone to talk to, along the way. There are certain things that I would like to seek second opinion. So to me, in a sense, I think everyone is entitled to this whole mentoring process. Not so much about everyone. It's not so much about everyone needs a mentor, but everyone can be mentored, and everyone can mentor too.
Okay,
in a sense.
okay.
So it's a very collaborative, or it works both ways. So it's never a one direction thing. To me, mentoring is, there are certain areas that I know that we all have our strengths, we all have our areas of improvement in that sense. So I think we can leverage on the things that we are good at, and then we use that to, sort of not really teach others, but to really help one another in certain areas. I might have certain areas that I'm really not good at. Like, for example, I'm not very good with my admin, and I always appreciate, my colleagues who would teach me faster way or more effective way of how to do certain administrative tasks,
Right.
so on and so forth. So if you ask me, yeah, I think it's meant for all. It's not just meant for the beginning teachers. Of course, in terms of needs, maybe as beginning teachers, as somebody who just graduated from practicum, going into a new school, to be a full-fledged teacher right now, there's a lot of other responsibilities, and along the way, I'm very sure that it can feel like a very overwhelming journey, and therefore, in terms of like priorities, yes, of course, beginning teachers would definitely appreciate that. Even when I think last year when I was at the PT symposium, and then when I was facilitating a conversation with those the 3-year-old, or they are already going to graduate from the PT ship, right?
Yeah.
All of them actually said that they really appreciate, and they feel that there is a need for mentoring to help them, and some of them actually did mention about the importance of how it has really shaped them, or how it has helped them during the 3 years of their PT ship or so. So that to me was really a testament to the fact that, the beginning teachers do really need that kind of support in the initial stages. But then when I was also looking at our school, being a very boy-centric, this is an all-boys school, right? So boys have very different way of learning. They need a lot of, they are very relational. For those who are not in the boys school, contrary to what you think boys are like, emotionless people. No, they are very they're full of emotions, right? Very drama. So they are very relational.
Yeah.
They also need clarity.
Yeah.
And they need structure.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting. This is the things that we found out about, like, what's an all boys school like, or what's a boy centric kind of education would look like. And so for those who are new in an all boys school, if I would imagine myself coming into the school, and this is the first time I'm in an all boys school, I need time to get used to, or to make certain changes to how I want to teach in an all boys school. So then that to me, having a buddy or having a mentor is helpful. I don't feel alone being in this school, especially in a new environment. Yeah, and I also know that there are some colleagues who are really good. They have certain disposition. Then what do we do with them? I always ask myself, like, sometimes I see some of our colleagues, right, very nurturing. Actually, in fact, they also can be a mentor. So, and I started asking myself this question, like, so what do we do with them? Knowing that this is actually their strength. Maybe they don't even know that this is their strength. So who is going to tell them? Then to me, I feel that then the role of, or at least the mentoring process, or that would help them to discover, that would really affirm them to say that, hey, we need more of colleagues like this And you never know. Who knows that this, again, this is a developmental journey. It's not a deficit-driven thing. So it's not because of what you're lacking in and therefore you need mentoring. But I think everybody has, at some point of time, needs someone to tell you, or needs some form of support in whichever way it is, right? To discover myself, to even better improve certain things that I'm doing.
Yeah.
Or looking at the ever-changing landscape of education itself. Profiles keep changing and changing. I mean, it's so fast, right?
Yeah.
Then I think all the more this camaraderie, or rather this network of having teachers being able to say, hey, I go to you because I realize this, you're really good at, how you want to manage these students, and I want to, how do you do it? I want to learn more about this, Then I think it's a mutual kind of benefit.
Yeah.
So I know, very very lengthy. The whole back to the question, right?
I love your stories.
Back to the question of is it just meant for beginning teachers? No, I don't think so. It's meant for all. I really think it's meant for all, and it really should be something that everyone should seek out for it, and don't feel that. I mean, this is something that we need to create a culture where people don't see mentoring as I am being mentored, or I kind of need mentoring because I'm lacking in something.
Yep.
No. I think every one of us at certain point, I might need some form of guidance or help when I am seeing a class that was really, really difficult. I tried my best. Or I also probably need some form of ideas from my fellow colleagues if I realize that, hey, I'm not good with certain IT stuff, for example, then I want to look for someone who is really good at that. So does that mean that therefore I'm not good? Or no? It's just that it's a lifelong learning, and it's something that we keep going on. It never ends, it never stops. I mean, we tell kids the same thing. So you graduate from secondary school, after that there's a lot more in life, and all these things. I think it's the same as adults, as working adults especially.
I really love the stories that you have shared. I think they're really rich, and I think there are a few key ideas that I can take out from the things you have just shared. I hear the word culture. Culture of what? Culture of learning. I also hear the idea of lifelong learning and learning for life. And I also hear that you yourself as a mentor, all right, wants to learn from your mentee, and it's not just mutual about you providing the guidance for the mentee, okay, to grow and learn. So it's a mutual relationship. So in essence, I feel that mentoring, from what I hear, can be for everyone, and that the culture of learning from one another is probably the key thing, or the most important thing for mentoring to be happening within the school. So as I said, the culture of learning, is the most important thing to have in order for mentoring to happen within that culture. Because when there is this strong culture of learning with mentoring anchored within it, then we can see that teachers will start helping one another. And this is where some of the ideas like reverse mentoring, whereby a teacher or a colleague who is more junior than the mentor actually supports the learning of the more senior person within the school. Or there is this idea which I just came across called oscillating mentoring, where everyone, correct me if I'm wrong, or audience, correct me if I'm wrong, to let me know that everyone actually learns from one another. Anyone can mentor one another. So
actually, Damon, we should put it out there for them. Maybe some I mean, I don't know, maybe some of our colleagues or our friends, right, would think that, oh, in my school, maybe there's no form of like mentoring. You are wrong. There are mentoring.
Okay.
Trust me, you go into the staff room, you go to your neighbor. I always say like the same long neighbors, right? And then you turn and say, hey, today I had this. In a way, then you started sharing certain things, right? That itself is really mentoring in that sense.
Yeah, so that's why the culture of wanting to help one another learn, I think, is much more important.
Yeah.
Yeah. Than putting in the structures
Structure,
in
yeah.
place for mentoring.
Correct.
Yeah, I'm not saying the structures for mentoring is not important, but I believe that if we can get the culture right,
Yeah.
then putting in the structures or the processes of mentoring would be much easier.
Yep.
Yeah, because if we have the structure, okay, but people don't believe, okay, in using the structure, then what's the use of the structure? Yeah, then we can say we have the process,
Yeah.
but if there's no one using the process, then yeah, what's the point? Yeah.
I think structure also comes in because of priorities. I mean, we have working on very finite resources also,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So when we talk about structures, I mean, I'm just thinking that in terms of prioritizing the needs of the in a school,
Yeah.
that's why the main focus, or at least the one with the highest priority, goes to our beginning teachers, because they are really at the very initial stage of their teaching journey.
Yeah.
And so then we want to give more resources for them. And then of course along the way, like you said, once that whole creating of a culture of like wanting to learn in that sense. And I'm very sure that actually, to be honest, right, everyone wants to learn at some point of time, and it is something that is always ongoing. Yeah. It's just that the more that you see that there is a rich exchange of like, hey, I'm talking about this, it can be a very informal thing. I can walk into the staff room and look at my friends and say, this bunch of students or so on and so forth, and things and that, and then ideas starts to get thrown around,
Right.
this staff room. It doesn't mean that therefore, hey, do we need to then now structure this whole thing? Can we have like this period to that period where all the staff in the staff room, right, starts to mentor one another? I think again, it's a relational kind of journey, and therefore, like you said, when we start to create that culture of saying that, hey, we want to learn, we know that we want to learn, and we can actually look for one another, and I'm willing to share certain things. So as you're willing to share your things with me, then I think over time, it's a over time kind of thing. It's not an overnight thing.
Correct. Yeah, because sometimes learning for us adults, right, can be situational. Yeah. So if we start with the processes first, right? Okay, and then you say that, hey, the two of you now use this process and start learning. It may not work that well because it doesn't make sense to them. Why it doesn't make sense to them is probably because they have not encountered a particular issue that they need to actually resolve. So that issue provides the situation for them to want to use the mentoring processes to help solve the issue or the problem which they are facing lah. Then I think if we agree that the culture of learning, supports wider use of the mentoring processes within our school, within our organization. Can I pick your brains again on what do you think on how we could actually build that collegial culture of wanting to support one another grow in our professional development?
I think in itself, because there are so many things that are happening in a very organic, very spontaneous manner, like I was saying, I'm very sure this applies to every one of us in our own respective schools, where you definitely go into the staff room, you definitely have your friends, or in our boys' words, right, your tribe, you find certain things, you talk about certain things, you find comfort in you're comfortable in sharing certain things. It could be a daily thing, or like you said, situational.
Yeah.
Maybe on this day, at this time, I experienced certain things. I want to share some things. So a lot of things are very organic and very spontaneous. So if you ask me how then we can actually further encourage such a culture, right?
Yeah.
I think empowerment is important. Yeah, I think to be able to identify or to be able to empower our fellow colleagues in terms of like, hey, I really see that there are certain strengths that you have. Would you be okay to take this a little bit further? To be not really the to go to person, but more like you are somebody that I can reach out to talk about things.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean you are the know-it-all person.
Yeah.
It just meant that, this is your strength.
Yeah.
And this is areas that I really want to learn from you.
Yeah.
I think that might be a very plausible way of like, trying to encourage or trying to build or strengthen that culture of like, mutual growth or mutual learning.
Yeah, okay. Thank you for sharing. I hear the word empowerment very loud and clear. But before we, maybe talk about empowerment, let's go back to the earlier part where we mentioned about building trust between our colleagues in school. And in order to build trust, we want to build relations with them. And we need to be open in our communication, conversations. We need to probably also show our vulnerability, okay, so that we have credibility, okay, in our conversations with our colleagues as well. And I think this new idea of providing empowerment is also something very powerful to build the trust that and relation that we have talked about earlier. Why is that so? I think one of the main ideas where people can be internally motivated is that they are provided autonomy in doing certain things that they want to do, or in learning things that they want to learn. Because this infers that they are given some level of trust to do certain things or to learn certain things, which therefore I think builds that culture of learning as well within the school. Because if we don't want to try out, okay, on our own, on certain ideas that we may have, in teaching and learning within the classroom, then we have no opportunity to learn from some of the mistakes that we make in the class. And the most powerful way of deep learning is that we learn through and from our mistakes. Yeah. So contrary to that, imagine, okay, a person in authority hovering over you, monitoring every single step that you do. The things that you do, all right, is it really to support your own growth, or is it just following instructions from someone throwing it at you? Then are you really being developed as a person? As a teacher. To me, it seems like I am being treated more like a robot, which I think if that is the case, I would feel that my growth as a person, as a teacher, will be very much limited. And if I feel that I'm a robot, my identity as a person, as a human being, might be taken a hit. And if that's the case, okay, there will be no trust. There will be no trust, and when there's no trust, then the culture of wanting to take risks, a very important point. In order to learn, we must take risks. The willingness to take risk, okay, to make mistakes, to learn, will not be there. That's why I totally agree with your point of giving empowerment to our mentees or to our colleagues in a way that they can go and try out something on their own is another important factor in building trust and therefore building the culture of learning in the school.
True.
Yeah.
Yep, I agree.
Before we go into the final question, I just got one more curveball before that final question.
You got curveball?
Yes, I got one more curveball because I play a little bit of softball. So in softball, we throw curveballs.
Okay.
Okay. So it's a very simple question. So my
if it's not simple, just cut.
okay, no problem. Okay. So because people have been talking about the idea of coaching. Okay, contrasting it with mentoring. So, would you happen to know what is the difference between coaching and mentoring?
Wow. Well, that's really a very curveball.
Sorry.
Coming from somebody who is not doesn't really have a sports background. Okay, to me, right, coaching, to a certain extent, coaching and mentoring, there is some form of similarity. But you do realize, I realize, or maybe I'm wrong. This one, I put it out there. I feel that the difference between like mentoring and coaching is, if I'm just trying to imagine, if I'm a coach, right, I must be good at what I'm doing, right? So that then I can coach my players to do well. You know. Of course, there's certain similarities in the sense that sometimes if I need to go instructional because maybe you're learning something new for the first time, I need to be more instructional to tell you how to do certain things. And then along the way, if I want to, fine tune, or I want to develop, I want to sharpen skills, then I go a little bit more facilitative, to make them feel that it's safe to fail. For example, as a sports person, not all the time you get to win, So to me, that is the similarity. Maybe the difference is really about, maybe as a coach, I can't be telling you that, I can't be sharing with my sports player my problems. I don't know, maybe I'm saying this wrong. But the mentoring process is not so much about showing you that I am better than you, but more like, I want to do this with you, and let's learn certain things together. So maybe it is also the aspect of vulnerability is stronger in a mentoring journey, or in a mentoring relationship, rather as compared to coaching.
I like your answer where you talked about in mentoring there is there's this idea of learning together.
Yeah, learning together.
Yeah, there's this idea of mutual growth. Yeah.
Whereas it's so weird, right? If you have a coach, like I just imagine if I'm there's a sports coach who will tell me things like, "Hey, I'm learning together with you on this." Then like, why are you learning? You are my coach. I would expect a little bit
precisely. Because in the PE context, right? Let's say if I were to ask my students to maybe throw a ball, based on a few success criteria in how they control their body. So as they do their practice, maybe their arm location as they release the ball was not so good. I would tell the boy maybe to adjust the angle of their arm, or adjust where their fingers are pointing towards the target, so that the success of the ball reaching the intended target is better. Yeah, so it's I would say it's a little bit more instructional, a little bit less relational. It's more of giving them quick pointers at the point in time where they are doing certain things to adjust the process of what they are trying out on, so that they improve the chances of success. Yeah. So I think coaching, it can be part of mentoring. It's a subset of mentoring. Mentoring is something that is a bigger set because it involves a lot more relational development over a longer period of time. Yeah. This is my understanding. Yeah. So do let us know if you think there is a better definition on what coaching versus mentoring is like. Okay, thank you so much. now maybe the last part, we go into the last part of our podcast, of our episode. So in every episode, I always ask my guests what advice that they can give to our audience.
Okay.
So since we are in the topic of mentoring, maybe can I pick your brain one last time, right, on what kind of suggestions or advice can you give our audience to build a culture of mentoring, and hence a culture of learning from one another within our schools?
I think maybe it's already been mentioned during our conversation, but I still want to emphasize the fact that everyone can be mentored, and everyone can mentor too. I really think that this is something that hopefully it resonates with you in a sense that we're not just talking about a one-way kind of ticket. It's not just all about, oh, I need to find somebody to mentor. But I think to recognize the fact that at some point of time, I do need some form of support in a form of mentoring, and therefore everyone really can be mentored, in that sense.
Okay. Thank you so much. So everyone can be mentored, and everyone can also be a mentor.
Yes.
And the reason behind this is because everyone can always learn from one another.
Correct.
Let's start with building our relationships and trust and empowerment with one another first.
Yes.
All right. So, audience, thank you so much, for listening to our conversation for this entire episode. And we'd like to thank Ben for spending his time, with us today. So do like, share, and subscribe if you like today's episode. And we will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.
Bye.